I thank the chairperson. Let me ask Mr. Mora. You said that one of the two black SUVs that stopped you and your dad pulled in front of your truck, and that the other followed behind. Did you know who were in those SUVs? Did you know they were police cars? Did you know who was in the cars?
Could you turn the microphone on, please? Thank you.
Did I know who was in those vehicles?
Yes.
I knew there were sheriffs because on the side of the vehicle it says sheriff.
Oh, it said sheriff.
Yes.
And when your dad told the deputies he was going to work at HMI, did the deputies tell him or you what they were doing there?
What was that?
When your father told the deputies that he was going to work at HMI, the company, did the deputies tell him or you why they were going to be at HMI?
No.
And when they told you and your dad to get out of the car, and they patted you down and handcuffed you, did they explain why they were doing that?
No, they did not.
When you saw the deputies with big guns and ski masks over their faces at HMI, what did you think was going on?
I did not know.
And how long were you and your father held there?
How long? 3 hours.
3 hours. And what is your impression of the police after what happened to you and your dad that day?
What was that again?
What is your impression of the police after what happened to you and your dad that day? Do you think more of them, less of them? I mean, do you fear them? Do you respect them? How has this affected your thoughts about the police in general?
The police in general? Well, look, I just want them to know that, hey, treat us equally, you know, because we're here to work. We're here to work, and we're not here to do anybody wrong, you know. We're just here working for our family.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Ramirez, in testimony before a different committee of this House last month, Frederick County Sheriff Charles Jenkins claimed that, and I quote from his testimony, there has been absolutely no complaints of profiling or discrimination based on ethnicity, close quote, since Frederick County began participating in the 287G program. Yet your testimony describes a number of instances where Frederick County Sheriff's Office appears to have stopped, interrogated, ticketed, or arrested Latinos, U.S. citizens, as well as legal and undocumented immigrants, seemingly based solely on their appearance. Why do you think that no formal complaints have been filed against the Sheriff's Office?
The thing we don't report any crime because we're afraid. We are a target, like I said. And sometimes people, they report a crime and they take it away, even the brother, father.
What do you mean they're taken away?
They taken to jail. And
for the
then
crime of reporting a crime?
Yeah, for report the crime. They don't go and target the crime. They come and asking for IDs, green cards, and humiliating us. Like we had a big tag, we are criminals. We are the only bad people in town.
So you're saying that there were no formal complaints filed against the Sheriff's Office because of fear?
Yeah, it is a big fear. We are very.
The sheriff also asserts that the program has not harmed police immigrant community relations and has not created fear or distrust of law enforcement. Would you comment on that statement by the sheriff?
Excuse me?
The sheriff testified that the 287G program, quote, has not harmed police immigrant community relations and has not created fear or distrust law enforcement, unquote. Could you comment on his statement? Is it true? Is it untrue?
Of course, it's not affecting because it's no relation to begin.
It's not true then?
It's not true. It's no relation. I offered my hand many times to work with him. And it's not the first time I do that to the police. I worked with them before.
Now, he also said that any existing fear or distrust of law enforcement is generally cultural-based, as most countries where immigrants originate from do have corrupt governments, corrupt and abusive law enforcement, which is all they have been exposed to in their lives. In other words, he is saying that if there is distrust or fear of law enforcement in Frederick County on the part of immigrants, it's because the countries they come from have corrupt police departments. It's not because of the wonderful sheriff's office in Frederick County. Would you comment on that?
You know, when we come to this country, we are a stereotype. We think we come from, not for another country, we come from trash cans. We don't believe for anything. People like me, we live in laws for the day we born. I'm not afraid about laws. I'm not afraid about rules. I believe in laws. And be afraid to the sheriff, to the police. To the police come 2 years ago increasing very badly. Because when we call the police, the problem is don't find the solution.
I'm going to interrupt. The gentleman has asked unanimous consent for an additional minute, and is granted an additional minute.
Thank you. So in other words, your testimony is that it is not culturally based on
It's
conditions.
a culture is creating right now. We are afraid to call. I change even a citizen and friends, residents, people I know for a long time.
So in other words,
we change everything. Our life is different now.
So I hear that. But in other words, you're saying that when the sheriff says that if there's fear of his department, it's because of what happened abroad or in other countries, not because of the actions of his department, that's not correct.
It's not correct. And
Okay.
I give you one example, quickly example. I know a friend, they was walking in the street and some guy approached them and asked for money. And they say, if you don't give me the money, I will call the police and tell them you're
They're
selling
afraid
drugs.
to report that.
You're selling drugs. And it's not just once, many times.
Thank you. I have one more question for you before the time expires. You testify that when the police stop Latinos, they often ask everyone in the car for passports or other identification cards, no matter the reason why the car was stopped.
Yeah.
What do they do? Now, let me just say, if a car is stopped for a traffic violation, there is absolutely no legal justification for asking for any kind of ID or anything else from anyone other than the driver. The driver, you can ask for license registration, but you have absolutely no legal right to ask anybody else for anything. What happens if the other passengers in the car, not the driver, do not have, in the judgment of the officer, adequate ID or whatever?
They take into jail, and they process. And I had a friend, he's citizen, and he was driving in Waverly Drive around Frederick, of course. And they stopped because he was driving very slow.
Okay.
And they was taken to jail, and he said, I'm citizen.